I never expected to walk away from family loyalty, but losing a $600K contract changed everything. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The room felt like it was closing in on me. My heart raced, pounding against my chest like a caged animal. It was a typical Tuesday, and sunlight streamed through the dusty windows. I sat in the small conference room, surrounded by my family. My dad, a towering figure with an intimidating presence, glanced at the documents laid out before us. His brow furrowed, and the tension in the air was electric. I could hear my sister's nervous breathing across the table. We were all in this together, or so I thought. But then the email pinged in bright and cold on my screen. Terminated. My stomach dropped. That one word shattered everything. A $600,000 contract, our family's lifeline gone. My pulse quickened. I felt the weight of everyone's expectations heavy on my shoulders, like an avalanche ready to crush me. You're kidding, right? My brother's voice trembled. There was disbelief, then anger. The walls echoed his frustration. I glanced at my father, his face flushed crimson, the muscle in his jaw twitching. The silence felt oppressive, each second stretching like an eternity. My pulse raced. I could visualize the implications. My family's dreams collapsing like a house of cards. We need to do something. I blurted out, desperation clawing at my throat. Family loyalty meant everything to us, but now it felt like an anchor dragging me to the depths. As my father's eyes bore into mine, I sensed something deeper, a sense of betrayal lurking beneath the surface. What secrets had been kept? Whispers filled the room, hints of past mistakes that clawed at our relationships. "This is your fault," he shouted, jabbing a finger at me. My heart dropped. The words hung in the air, suffocating. My sister looked at me, tears streaming down her face. "You were supposed to handle this." She was right, but how could I? I could feel the ground quake beneath me, shifting my entire reality. In that moment, I glimpsed the darkness creeping in. How far would I go to salvage our family? I could either let this tear us apart or fight back. And the choice loomed over me like a storm cloud. Dread filled the room, thick as fog. Just as I opened my mouth to respond, the phone rang, breaking the tense silence. My hand trembled as I picked it up. "Hello?" A voice on the other end sent chills racing down my spine. "We need to talk." "There's something you don't know." My heart stopped beating for a moment. What now? I could feel the world spinning out of control, and my grip on loyalty began to slip. What could possibly be so crucial that it would change everything? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The voice on the other end of the line lingered in my ears like an ominous shadow. "We need to talk. There's something you don't know." The words hung in the air, tantalizing and terrifying. I swallowed hard, my heart pounding furiously against my chest, but all I could manage was a shaky, "Who is this?" "Just listen to me. Meet me at the coffee shop on 5th and Main. You'll want to hear this," the voice insisted before abruptly hanging up. Disoriented, I glanced up from the phone. My family was still huddled around the table, their faces an unsettling array of feelings: hurt, betrayal, uncertainty. There was no time to unpack my own turmoil. I needed answers. I have to go," I stammered, hardly believing my own words. My father was caught momentarily off guard, his disappointment morphing into a simmering anger. "Where do you think you're going?" he demanded, eyes narrowing. "This is not the time to run away." "I'm not running. I need to find out what's happening." I could see my sister's eyes wide with fear, and it stung like a knife. "I'll be back. Promise." The words felt weak, almost pathetic, but I needed to gather my thoughts away from the suffocating tension of the conference room. The walk to the coffee shop was disjointed, each step fueling a mix of dread and urgency. I replayed the conversation in my head, grappling with the fear that whatever this mystery was, it could unravel the fragile threads connecting my family. The smell of freshly brewed coffee mixed with the faint scent of pastries filled the air when I arrived. I spotted a figure in the corner, cloaked in shadows. There was something familiar about the hunched posture, but I couldn't quite place it until I got closer. My breath caught. I knew this person. Louise? I breathed. She looked different. The once vibrant eyes now shadowed with worry, the once bright smile replaced by a heavy frown. She motioned for me to sit down. I'm so glad you came. I didn't know how else to tell you, she whispered, glancing over her shoulder. Tell me what? I pressed, my heart racing. What's going on with the contract? Why did we lose it? She hesitated for a moment, fidgeting with the edges of her coffee cup like it was a lifeline. It wasn't just lost, she said finally, her voice firmer now. It was sabotaged. My heart plummeted at the word, and every vein in my body seemed to freeze. What do you mean? Who would do that? Finally she leaned forward, urgency in her eyes. I can't tell you everything, but there are people who didn't want your family to succeed. There are deeper issues at play, betrayals you haven't even begun to uncover. Betrayals? I echoed, the word tasting bitter on my tongue. You mean within the family? Louise nodded. It's worse than you think. I only found out because I overheard something I shouldn't have. She pressed her lips together, the weight of her revelation pressing down on both of us. You need to talk to Aunt Clara. She's involved and she knows more than you do. My mind spun at the mention of Clara, a distant yet formidable presence in our family. I had never trusted her completely. Her charm often felt like a mask. Why would she? She's playing both sides, I think. You need to be careful, Louise cautioned, biting her lip. You're in dangerous waters. A heavy sense of dread washed over me, intertwining with a rush of hope that maybe, just maybe, this chaos could be comprehended. But at what cost? Suddenly, chaos erupted outside. A shout, then another. I jumped to my feet, and my heart thudded even harder as I rushed to the window. People were scattering, a throng bursting towards the exit of the coffee shop. What is happening? I gasped, turning back to Louise, who was pale, anxiety-laden. A second later, my phone buzzed violently on the table. It was a text from my brother. Dad collapsed. You need to come back now. Panic washed over me like a tidal wave, overwhelming the mere 20 seconds it took for reality to crystallize into yet another twist of fate. My family was crumbling under the pressure, and now it appeared the ground beneath us was about to give way completely. I raced out of the coffee shop, my thoughts a chaotic whirlwind. Each step felt sharp, like stepping on gravel while the world blurred around me. The weight of the unknown gnawed at me, questions spiraling like a storm inside my mind. What had Aunt Clara done? Was my family really tearing itself apart from the inside out? And then a terrifying thought flickered through my mind. Was this all a part of something bigger, something I'd still yet to unknowingly forge my own hand in? As I reached the car, the slow tick of dread drew its breath, reminding me that sometimes, leaving family loyalty behind wasn't a choice, it was a necessity. Time was running short, and nothing would ever be the same again. The car ride back felt like traversing a dark tunnel, the shadows stretching on endlessly. My fingers gripped the steering wheel, knuckles turning white as my mind raced. The car's interior was filled with silence, but the chaos of my thoughts roared louder than a battlefield. My father's collapse echoed like a drumbeat against the walls of my consciousness. What if this was just the beginning of something catastrophic? Arriving home, the scene was like a surreal nightmare. The front door was ajar, and the normally inviting atmosphere of our house felt unwelcoming and cold. My breath quickened as I stepped inside, the silence pressing in on me from all sides. I found my brother and sister in the living room, their faces pale and eyes wide with panic. I barely registered the coffee table cluttered with papers, a few scattered family photos lying face down, as if they were too ashamed to witness the unfolding dread. Where's Dad? I demanded, the urgency of the moment pushing me forward. Ambulance is on the way, my sister, Emma, managed to chime in, her voice trembling. He was just sitting at the table when she couldn't finish the sentence. Suddenly the desperation erupted within me. What happened? Did someone do this? Was it stress? Because of the contract? James shot me a look that shattered my heart. Stop. Just stop. Yes, not even conscious. All we know is that he fell. That's it. I swallowed heavily, the fabric of my family fraying at the seams. I caught a glimpse through the kitchen doorway. The dishes still stacked high from dinner. The sultry smell of last night's roast lingering in a way that felt morbidly inappropriate now. I gripped the countertop, trying to steady myself. Everything seemed to mock us. Within moments, a paramedic team burst through the door, their urgency both a comfort and a reminder of our grave reality. I fell back to watch as they transported my father onto a stretcher. My heart twisted as I saw him, vulnerable and frail, looking like a broken statue, one I had thought would always stand strong. The world outside the window blurred as I made my way to the hospital, an agonizing concoction of fear and unanswered questions swirling in my heart. Would I ever be able to piece together the truth about the contract and Aunt Clara? How could this betrayal be lurking under our own roof, tearing apart the family I had desperately wanted to protect? The sterile scent of antiseptic greeted me upon entering the hospital, but it did little to clear the fog of confusion enveloping my mind. Hours bled into each other as I waited in the stark waiting room, the ceiling's fluorescent lights buzzing, amplifying the tension that clung to the air. "Can we speak to you for a moment?" A doctor appeared at the door, and I felt time freeze. My pulse quickened as I followed him into a small consultation room. The walls felt as if they were closing in, and dread coiled tightly around my stomach. "Your father is stable," the doctor began, but his tone suggested more was beneath the surface. "He has had a heart attack. We did a procedure to restore blood flow, and right now his condition is improving, but the next 24 hours will be critical." 24 hours. The words echoed ominously in my mind, suffocating me. As I absorbed this news, a flicker of movement caught my attention from the corner of my eye. Aunt Clara. I hadn't seen her in years, but there she was, elegantly poised despite the chaos. Her face remained an enigma, a mask of concern, but when our eyes met, something colder flickered behind her gaze. "Darlings, I'm so sorry," she cooed, her voice syrupy sweet yet tainted with an undercurrent that prickled my skin. "Is there anything I can do?" "Stay away," I snapped, my heart pounding against my ribcage. "You need to leave. You have no right to be here." "Oh, but family should stick together in times of trouble," she replied slyly, a smirk creeping along her lips. My skin crawled, the depths of her charm felt predatory. "I don't trust you," I shouted, bitterness rising like bile. "You've already taken enough from us. We don't need another betrayal right now." Her laughter was chilling, almost haunting, as she straightened her posture. Despite her outward calm, I could sense destabilizing currents brewing beneath her facade. "Sweetheart, it's not me you need to worry about. You should consider how this will affect your family dynamics." With that hanger of dread hanging in the thick air of the family room, Clara turned and vanished down the hallway, her heels clicking ominously against the tiles. I turned back to the wall of glass that separated me from my father's room, heart racing anew. There was a storm brewing, and not just within my family. I had to confront Louise's words about betrayal, and now I realized my family's troubles were woven into something much larger and darker than I could ever comprehend. As the hours dragged on, my eyes remained trained on that door, holding my breath between fleeting hope and paralyzing fear. Just then my phone buzzed in my pocket. The name flashing on the screen sent a chill down my spine. Louise. What new revelation could she possibly have? Or worse, what did Aunt Clara have planned that would ripple through the fragile facade of our family? My heart raced. Answers were weaving themselves dangerously close to hours that could change everything. I held my breath, the cliff of uncertainty leering before me, hoping for the strength to leap. The sterile air in the hospital seemed to constrict around me, and I could feel the weight of impending answers pushing against my chest. My thumb hovered over the phone icon, the decision swirling in my mind like a tempest. I had always been the protective older sibling, the one who would shield my family from storms, but right now I felt like a lost sailor without a compass. Finally, I took a deep breath and swiped to answer. "Hello?" My voice was unsteady, barely masking the tremor of anxiety within. "Hey, it's me." Louise's voice came through, soft but urgent. "I just heard about your dad. I wanted to check in. Do you have any idea what Aunt Clara is up to?" I replied immediately, frustration bubbling over. She showed up out of nowhere, acting all concerned. "I can't shake the feeling that she's involved somehow." A pause lingered on the line, thickening my pulse. "I'd be wary of her for sure. You know how she is, but there's something else." Her tone turned serious. I found out more about that contract Dad was dealing with before the heart attack, things he never mentioned. My heart thundered in my ears. I felt as though someone had just pulled a thread on a sweater, and the entire fabric of my family was beginning to unravel. What do you mean? I pressed my hands, shaking around the phone. Remember the company he was negotiating with? It's not just a business deal. It's tied into some very shady practices. I think he might have been trying to get out of it, but didn't he feel like he had the support? It was like a punch to the gut. Waves of confusion washed over me. What kind of practices? How do you know? My skeptical instincts kicked in. I have some connections, and let us just say the people involved aren't exactly what you'd call trustworthy. I was going to dig deeper after this, but now he's in the hospital, I interrupted, frustration bubbling. Do you understand that this could have consequences? What if they come after us? What if Clara already knows and is using this to her advantage? A heavy silence filled the space between us, the gravity of my words settling like a weight on my shoulders. Louise took a deep breath before replying, that's why I'm saying we need to act fast, but you need to be careful too. The last thing your family needs is more chaos. We need to figure out what is really going on before it fully unravels. You're right, I whispered, fear swimming in my gut. I'll talk to you later. I hung up, feeling more isolated than before, each layer of uncertainty thickening the air around me. Louise's words echoed in my mind, a reminder that the storm circling my family was relentless, waiting to unleash its fury. That I returned to the waiting room, where James and Emma sat, eyes focused on the dull gray floor. Their faces reflected a mosaic of dread that pulled me further into my own rash emotions, stealing any resolve I felt. As I approached them, Emma caught my eye and offered a tentative smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. Any news? Just that Dad is stable, I said, forcing the words through my clenched throat. But we have to be careful, there is something going on with the contract and Aunt Clara. James stiffened at the mention of her name. Why is she here? We don't need her now. I swallowed hard, choosing my next words carefully. I don't know. It feels like she's waiting to take advantage of this whole situation. I can't shake the feeling that the collapse was just the start of something worse. We need to figure out if it's tied to what's happening with Dad. Great, Emma sighed, running her fingers through her hair as her frustration peaked. That's all we need. It seems like every time we turn around, there's another problem. How are we supposed to band together when it feels like we're constantly being pulled apart? I wished I had answers, but the truth was a chasm gaping between us. Our eyes darted toward my father's room. The door closed, an ominous vault holding our hopes and fears. Just then a nurse walked briskly by and my heart sank. If only she would deliver good news, but instead there was only silence, heavy and suffocating. It doesn't have to be that way, I whispered, my resolve strengthening. We are stronger than Clara thinks. We have to stick together. If we're going to figure this out, we need to trust each other. As we united in our silent vow, my phone buzzed again, jolting me out of reverie. A text from an unknown number flickered on the screen. If you want to know the truth about your father and the contract, meet me tonight at the roof. Come alone. My stomach twisted at the desperation laced in every letter. Could this be the revelation we needed? Or another trap that would snare my family deeper into the darkness? I looked at my siblings, their faces a mirror of my own anxiety. Tonight's decision loomed ahead like an unwritten chapter, and the weight of the unknown settled heavily in my chest. My heart raced as I snagged a fragile thread of hope, knowing I might be stepping closer to a truth I was both longing for and dreading. Can I protect my family without losing myself? The thought pierced through me, prompting a shaky resolve. And yet, as I sent a reply to the unknown number, my heart thudded in warning. Some secrets were more dangerous than others. The fluorescent lights flickered disconcertingly as I stood by the hospital exit, shadows dimming the world outside. My fingers trembled over the screen as I typed a response to the unknown number, anticipation gnawing at my insides. After hitting send, a moment of clarity washed over me. This could either be an opportunity or a fatal error. I couldn't turn back now. The roof was a half-remembered location in my mind, a rooftop bar nestled high above the city, drawing in the nightlife with its promises of laughter and escape. But tonight, it held the weight of grim choices and murky truths. My throat tightened with every step away from the hospital. I half expected to hear my father's familiar voice calling me back, urging me to reconsider. But the urgency twisting within me pushed me forward. The city buzzed around me, a sea of headlights and footsteps. I tried to focus on anything but the text that had soured my heart. I could visualize Louise frowning on the other end of our call, urging me to tread lightly. What if it was another manipulation? Another piece of the puzzle meant to distract me from Aunt Clara's ulterior motives. An uncomfortable chill snaked down my spine as I climbed into a cab. I peered out the window at the passing landscape. Every landmark was a reminder of my father's legacy, and I could feel a wave of nostalgia tugging at my memories of family dinners and laughter that seemed both distant and fragile. "You're doing this for him," I whispered to myself, but the words felt hollow against the backdrop of my thundering thoughts. When I arrived at the roof, the city sprawled beneath me like a tapestry of lights. I stepped inside, the ambience buzzing with conversation, laughter, and the clinking of glasses. But I couldn't shake off the feeling of being an outsider, burdened by the weight of my family's turmoil. My gaze flitted to a table in the far corner. A figure, cloaked in the shadows, gestured for me to approach. "Are you alone?" The voice was smooth yet cool, with a hint of authority. "I came by myself," I said, scanning the area for any sign of trouble. "Good. You should be careful who you trust." The figure leaned back, revealing a face I partially recognized, a woman I had seen in passing at my father's office, one of his associates. "I work for Essential Dynamics." Panic flickered within me, and I fought to keep my voice steady. "What do you know about my father and the contract?" She took a sip from her drink, eyeing me over the rim. "Your father was a good man, but caught in a web much larger than himself. He was trying to find a way out, but these people, they don't let go easily. Just tell me what you know." My desperation was palpable, thinly veiled beneath the toughness I tried to project. "Your father's health is a part of this," she said softly, her eyes piercing through any pretense. "The heart attack was just a side effect. If you want to protect him, you need to consider what he was dealing with and who he was up against." "Why now? Why tell me this?" I pressed, terrified of the truth that seemed to lurk just beyond her lips. "Because if you don't act, you'll lose everything. The contract, the company, your father. People are already taking advantage of the situation." Suddenly, a loud crash erupted from somewhere in the bar, drowning out her voice. I turned instinctively and could see a crowd gathering. The tension in the air crackled like electricity. My heart raced, every instinct telling me that trouble was imminent. "Listen," she urged urgently, pressing a crumpled piece of paper into my palm. "Everything you need to know is on that. But you need to decide quickly. Your family's safety is on the line." Just then my phone buzzed violently and I glanced at the screen. A text from Louise. "I've got news about Aunt Clara. She's not alone." Panic surged as I looked back at the woman, but she had already faded into the crowd. My heart thundered in my chest. I was left holding the paper and the weight of my family's fate in my hands. I clenched it tightly, feeling the edges digging into my palm that I faced the swirling chaos of the bar, knowing I had to decide. Follow the clues that might lead me to protect my father, or race back home to confront the unfolding drama with Aunt Clara. One side screamed loyalty, the other whispered treachery. Every heartbeat felt like a countdown, and I stood on the precipice of making the most significant choice of my life, only to be interrupted by the blare of sirens echoing in the distance, an ominous warning that this night was far from over. The tension in the bar thickened, as if the very air had conspired to draw me deeper into this abyss. Sirens wailed closer now, intertwining with my thoughts and drowning my resolve in a sea of confusion. What awaited me and whatever fateful decision I was about to make loomed larger than life. That I glanced once more at the crumpled paper in my hand, feeling its weight like a stone. My heart thudded in my chest, each beat echoing the turmoil that threatened to envelop me. The rush of adrenaline made my palms sweat as I spotted the figure of the woman slipping into the crowd, vanished like a specter. I had thought I was here to find answers, but now I felt more lost than ever. Steeling myself, I took a step towards the door, my mind set on tracking down Aunt Clara. Yet, the little flutter in my stomach told me to stop. If Aunt Clara was involved in something sinister, racing back might mean walking right into a trap. I could feel the weight of the decisions pressing down on me, but in that swirling tempest of doubt, a small part of me yearned to know what secrets that crumpled paper held and what had been hidden from me all this time. The crowd roared with life, arms and faces blurring in a wash of sound and light. I gritted my teeth, torn between loyalty to my family and the instinct for self-preservation. Desperation clawed at my insides, urging me to cling to hope. Even as anxiety threatened to drown it, I inched away from the door, finally inhaling the bittersweet smell of whiskey and heartbreak. I glanced around the bar, searching for any semblance of help. A couple sat at a nearby table, their laughter ringing clear above the din. For a heartbeat I envied their simplicity, the way they buried themselves in each other's joy, unaware of the storm circling me. Then I noticed him. A man hunched over his drink, his face marred with shadows and unkempt stubble. He nursed his glass, seemingly oblivious to the world around him. But as I peered closer, something familiar set my heart racing. His eyes, a mirror of my father's. Recognition crashed over me like a wave. This was Ethan, my father's old friend. A figure I'd heard about but never met. "Ethan?" I called, my voice breaking through the chaos. He looked up slowly, confusion melting into something deeper. "What are you doing here?" His voice, though roughened by years, still carried an undertone of warmth. But the words stumbled down the path of hesitation. I was about to reveal everything, yet fear tugged at my tongue. "I think something's wrong with my father." His eyes sharpened, concern sparking like electricity. "What do you know?" I hesitated, weighing every syllable. "I got a message tonight. A woman from Essential Dynamics said my father was trying to escape something, that he was in danger." A flicker of recognition crossed his face, his brow furrowing deeply. "There are things you shouldn't ignore, things that live in the dark." The weight of his words hung heavy in the air between us. "If you want to help your father, you need to trust people who know more than you do." "Like you?" I challenged, desperation creeping into my tone. "What do you know?" A flicker of pain flared in his eyes. "He was working on something big. But I never thought it would threaten your family. He was trying to break free. He knew it was dangerous. That's why I'm here. I was supposed to protect him." I could scarcely breathe. "But he had a heart attack." "Is that really what this was about?" "Those things don't just happen, kid," he muttered, running a hand through his disheveled hair. "You need to get out of here. No one is safe right now." My heart sank further. "What do you mean? What is happening?" "Listen," he leaned closer, urgency ringing in his voice. "You have to get that paper. There's more to it than you realize. They're targeting you now too. Your father tried to shield you, but he failed." At that moment, a loud crash reverberated through the bar as the door swung open with a violent force. All heads turned. A man in a black suit strode in, flanked by two burly figures. His eyes, cold and calculating, swept the room like a predator surveying the prey. "Where is she?" he roared, voice booming above the tension. I froze. The man's gaze darted my way, and clarity struck. He was here for me. "Go," Ethan whispered urgently, his hand gripping my wrist, his fear palpable. "You have to." Suddenly, my phone buzzed violently again, and I stole one last glance at the paper crumpled in my palm. What secrets did it hold? Would I choose to unravel my family's dark truths in the pursuit of safety? Or would I be swallowed whole before I could find the answers? As I pushed past Ethan and merged into the crowd, the roiling emotion within me began to crystallize. Now I was not just running from danger. I was running towards whatever it was that awaited me. And I was left teetering on the edge of an ever-deepening abyss of uncertainty. With my heart racing and the crowd swirling around me, I felt like a ship lost at sea, waves crashing against me from all directions. Every face I passed blurred into a collage of worry and excitement, but their significance faded away as I focused on one urgent thought: what lay ahead? I stumbled out of the bar, an icy wind whipping around me, the world sparking to life in a vibrant, terrifying way. I had run, barely processing Ethan's words. Something in their weight gnawed at me, evoking a tangled mix of anxiety and determination. How had everything spiraled out of control so quickly? Behind me, the chaos of the bar faded, but the echo of the man's roar lingered, sending splinters of terror through my veins. The crumpled note felt like a secret bloodline connecting me to my father's hidden life, a jumbled riddle I was desperate to decipher. I held tight to it, its texture a reminder that I was not alone, even in this shadowy uncertainty. My hands shook. I needed clarity. But at what cost? I rushed down the sidewalk, my legs pumping against the pavement, each breath hitting my lungs with the cold bite of reality. All around, the city thrummed with life, oblivious to the storm that had erupted in my heart. I crossed paths with a street musician, his guitar's soulful notes piercing the frosty evening air. For a fleeting moment I paused, letting the melody wash over me like a bomb against my rising panic. It was a small island of humanity amidst chaos, yet it quickly fell away to the shadows as I pushed forward, remembering Ethan's warning. Time slipped through my fingers like sand, yet I needed to find somewhere safe. The winter darkness had turned my familiar city into a maze, each alleyway an unknown path leading to potential danger. But I was buoyed by determination, a desire to unravel the truth that lingered like smoke in my mind. With nowhere else to go in this whirlwind of uncertainty, I decided to head to my apartment. It was the only place I felt poised enough to piece things together. However, as I approached the old brick building, a familiar figure lurked in the shadows by the entrance, a shadow whose presence sent a shockwave of memories flooding back. "Lucas," I called hesitantly, both surprised and relieved to see my childhood friend whose lightheartedness had often pulled me from my own darkness. He emerged from the shadows, his expression tense, eyes searching mine as if gauging the storm within. "Thank God I found you," he exclaimed, stepping closer, concern etched on his face. "I saw what happened at the bar. Are you all right?" I hesitated, grappling with how much to share. The last thing I wanted was to drag him into my mess, but something in his eyes urged me to open up. "Ethan's here," he said. "My father's in trouble, and I think there's more to it than I know." Lucas nodded slowly, listening, though I could see the worry creeping into his features. "You shouldn't have gone back there. This situation with your father, it's dangerous," he warned, urgency wrapping around his words. "You need to take this seriously. Whoever that man was, he came in looking for you." Deciding to be open was an unexpected comfort. "But I have this," I said, revealing the crumpled paper, my fingers trembling as I unfurled it slightly. It was barely legible, but the cryptic message felt like an invitation to understand the darkness that shadowed my family. Lucas peered closer, a flicker of recognition flickering in his gaze. "This is serious, and you're playing with fire by getting involved," he replied. "But if you're determined to find answers, you can't do it alone. Not anymore. You need help." "What do you mean?" I questioned, torn between gratitude and frustration. "I know a few people who can dig deeper into this for us," he explained, earnestness seeping through him. "We don't have much time. With the heat on you, your name is already in the wind. But there could be threads we can pull." Something in his determination struck a chord within me, a tiny flame igniting against the darkness that threatened to engulf not just my family but also the future I had long envisioned. The world around me grew dimmer, the energy of the city fading into a backdrop as the gravity of our conversation deepened. Would it really be worth it to pull at these threads? I searched his eyes for certainty and found it, even amidst the chaos. "I don't know where this will lead us," I whispered, fear rising again in my throat, choking on the implications. Before Lucas could respond, my phone buzzed violently in my pocket. My stomach twisted as I pulled it out, dread settling in as I swiped to answer. "Isn't it funny how quickly everything can change?" The familiar smooth voice of the woman from earlier echoed through the receiver, sending chills down my spine. "You should have stayed out of it, dear. But now that you've wandered into our world, you have choices to make, a path split before you. Your father's fate is intertwined with your own, like it or not." The call dropped, leaving behind a silence that reverberated through the night. A comprehension began to rise within me, growing sharper, fueled by fear and unexpected resolve. "Is everything okay?" Lucas asked, grasping my arm as if sensing the tumult beneath the surface. I met his eyes, the weight of my family's legacy looming heavily. "No, it's getting worse," I admitted, every word laced with uncertainty. And yet, in that moment, I felt a flicker of something else, hope intertwined with desperation, two opposing forces ready to ignite a spark. The city and its darkness loomed large ahead, and as Lucas and I turned to walk further into the uncertainty, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were on the cusp of unraveling something that could change everything or bring about our undoing. The air crackled with an unseen tension as Lucas and I moved further into the depths of the night, the city a labyrinth of shadows and half-lit ambitions. Every street sign felt like an omen, each rustle of leaves a whisper of the danger coiling around us. I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. The ominous undercurrent in the atmosphere pushed urgency into my every step. "What now?" I asked, my voice a fragile thread in the dimness of the streetlights. I glanced nervously behind us, half expecting to see the woman's ominous silhouette float out of the shadows, her warnings unspooling like a reel of film in my mind, my father's fate tied to mine. A grim reality that weighed heavily on my chest. Lucas hesitated, clearly in thought. Let us get somewhere safe. My place isn't far from here. We can think things through without the pressure of prying eyes. He glanced around as if the city itself had ears, and I nodded, too rattled to argue. As we walked, the streets seemed to shift beneath us, filled with an unsettling energy of the unknown. I felt the world tightening around me like a vice, and despite Lucas's presence, a chill settling deep within me left me insatiably restless. What terrible truths might we uncover? What pieces of my father's life had I yet to discover? And at what cost? Arriving at Lucas's apartment, I stepped into the warm glow of soft lighting and familiar scents, coffee brewing, a hint of sandalwood from the candles flickering on the countertop. For a moment, this cocoon of solace temporarily pushed the chaos of the outside world away. But the sanctuary was fleeting. I needed answers, and every second spent in this safe space felt like time lost. Get comfortable, Lucas said, taking a seat at the small kitchen table, pulling out his laptop. I'll see what I can find about your father. If there's something out there, it'll be worth knowing. I perched on the edge of the couch, hovering between hope and anxiety. Watching him type, I was struck by the flashes of light from the screen dancing across his serious face. You used to thrash around in your room for hours to figure out video games. Now you're scouring databases for my family secrets, I said, trying to manage a light-hearted edge, though my heart raced with each keystroke. If anyone can crack this, it's you. Let us not get ahead of ourselves, he replied, concentrating fiercely. This isn't a game, and it's not just about high scores anymore. The intensity of the moment enveloped us. As he began sifting through information, the gravity of our situation crashed upon me. Pieces of my father's life that had been buried for years were about to be unearthed, and I was terrified of what revelations might follow. But what frightened me more was the thought of losing Lucas in this chaos. He was my anchor, the buoy in the storm, and yet I couldn't help but feel an impending sense of doom swirling around us, like shadows stretching out under the dim incandescence. Why are you doing this for me? The words tumbled out before I could stop them, the query hanging in the air thick with emotion. He paused, looking at me with a mix of concern and resolution. We're friends and you need help. You don't have to go through this alone. Plus there's something more. I can't let you walk into this darkness without standing by you. The sincerity in his expression overwhelmed me. It sent warmth rippling through my uncertainty, the connection we shared kindling hope amidst the storm. Maybe together, we could break through the cobwebs of secrets and lies that had built up around my family. But then Lucas's fingers stilled, the light draining from his face as he scrolled through results. My heart dropped as dread began to swell in my chest. Lucas, what's wrong? I urged, pacing the floor, every shadow of a doubt setting me on edge. He gulped, a troubled expression darkening his features. It's your dad. He's been involved in something far more dangerous than we imagined. I found a record of transactions to an organization with a bad reputation. They deal in unseen things. My breath caught. What kind of things? He hesitated, searching for the right words. Things that don't reflect well on him or you. The walls of the apartment felt as though they were closing in, my head swimming with disbelief. Was it possible? The very man I had idolized was steeped in something grotesque? The truth, twisted by the horrors of reality, was revealing itself in layers I hadn't been ready for. This can't be right, I muttered, my fingers gripping the edge of the couch tightly. There's got to be some mistake. It's not a mistake, he insisted gently, his eyes softening. I'll keep looking. But we need to be careful. Whoever your father was involved with, they could be dangerous. If they've already come looking for you, it won't stop there. The implications washed over me, dark tendrils of fear curling around my heart. I could feel the heavy iron weight of family loyalty pulling me toward that hidden world. But the thought of turning my back on Lucas, or worse, putting him in danger, was a burning anxiety I couldn't afford. My phone rang again, the unexpected sound slicing through the tension in the room. I dove for it, but my heart sank, glancing at the screen. An unknown number. I hesitated, glancing at Lucas. He nodded encouragingly, urging me to answer. Hello? I said cautiously, bracing myself for whatever awaited me on the other end. Ah, I see you've started digging, my dear. The woman's tinkling voice chimed again, dripping with sarcasm. But some things are better left buried. Especially when digging deeper only attracts the wolves. Panic shot through me. What do you want? Just a friendly reminder that time is running out for your father. But be warned, unraveling the truth may come at a cost you're not ready to pay. The call ended, leaving an unfathomable silence in its wake. I dropped the phone, a dread weight settled in my chest. I turned back to Lucas, fear etched on my face. He knows, I whispered. He knows we're looking. How? Panic flared in his eyes, and before I could respond, a heavy pounding echoed through the front door, jolting us both upright. Open up. We know you're in there. A deep voice demanded, laced with authority, rattling the very core of my being. In that moment I realized the abyss of family loyalty would demand more than I was willing to give. And whatever choice lay ahead, the future I once envisioned shattered around me. For now it was engulfed in darkness, the stakes climbing higher with every second. The pounding at the door thundered through the apartment, a stark rallying cry shattering the fragile sanctuary we had found. My heart raced, a wild drumbeat in my ears as I shot a panicked glance at Lucas. What do we do? My voice trembled, barely above a whisper, the thrill of danger slicing through the resolve I had clung to just moments before. Hide. Now, Lucas commanded, his voice steady, striking against the chaos threatening to engulf us. His calmness acted as a buffer against my rising panic, as he led me quickly towards the small laundry room at the back of the apartment. The space was cluttered with boxes and forgotten items, the perfect hiding spot, but the musty air felt like a shroud of dread. We pressed ourselves against the wall as the voices outside grew louder, the authoritarian cadence unmistakable. We have a warrant. Open up. Squeezing my eyes shut, I fought against the wave of despair crashing over me. The terrible realization settled in a relentless truth tugging at the edges of my thoughts. What had my father been involved in? And now, by extension, what danger had he thrust upon me? I could feel Lucas's breath beside me, shallow and urgent. It'll be okay, he whispered, though the quiver in his voice betrayed his uncertainty. Just stay quiet. Every instinct told me to listen, yet every heartbeat rattled with the urge to scream out. The fear of losing what little control I had gnawed on my nerves. Images of my father's smile, of the warm memories we had shared, now poisoned with suspicion. How could I reconcile the loving man I knew with the ghost of a life entwined with danger? The door slammed open, and the creak of the hinges sounded like a death knell. Clear. A deep voice barked, echoing through the apartment. An officer dressed in tactical gear stepped inside, flanked by two others, weapons drawn and ready, scanning the area with predatory ferocity. My breath caught in my throat, the palpable fear wrapping around me tighter than the shadows. I risked a glance at Lucas, whose eyes bore a mixture of rage and dread, an unspoken vow to stand guard over our fragile alliance, our shared secrets binding us deeper into this dark uncertainty. Voices bounced off the walls as they combed through the apartment methodically. We know he's here, and we know he's been in contact with someone, one officer stated. The accusation hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. My heart sank for the father whose legacy was unspooling before me, now a target of relentless scrutiny. Lucas shifted beside me, his brow furrowing in quiet contemplation. We need to get out, he whispered urgently. Now. But my feet felt cemented to the ground, wrapped in hesitation. As I listened to the officers discussing my father's alleged dealings, a web of deceit and betrayal, I couldn't shake the wave of confusion washing over me. This wasn't just his secret anymore. It was mine too. An inescapable inheritance I was left to navigate, entangled with the man who had always promised to protect me. But what if they find us? I grit out, panic flickering through my mind like a firestorm. The back window. It leads to the fire escape, Lucas insisted, his voice tense with urgency. We need to move before a sudden crash echoed through the living room, cutting through our fleeting moment of clarity. A shattering sound like glass splintering filled the space. The officers had breached the threshold of safety, and my pulse quickened dangerously, terror clawing its way up my throat. We scrambled silently toward the back window, slipping past boxes and crates as the dust of neglect swirled around us. My fingers trembled as I pushed the window open, the cool night air colliding with the warmth of our hiding spot. I looked back. Lucas's fierce determination was a flicker of light in my storm of uncertainty. On three, he murmured, the tension crackling between us like a charged wire. 1, 2, 3. We vaulted through the window, landing on the narrow fire escape. The cold metal crunched beneath my weight, stealing my breath momentarily. I glanced back at the window, heart racing, wishing I could take one last look at the place that had been a beacon of comfort, now transformed into a den of chaos. Climbing down the fire escape, I could hear the officers swarming through the apartment, their voices heavy with authority. I inhaled sharply, the air electric with fear and adrenaline. Just as we reached the bottom, Lucas turned to me, his expression fierce yet vulnerable. We have to keep moving and we can't look back, he urged, taking my hand. The warmth of his grip was a lifeline, grounding me amidst the turmoil that I nodded, swallowing my fear. There was no turning back. But as we darted into the shadows of the alley, a haunting thought struck me like lightning. The path ahead was dark with secrets, and with every step we forged deeper into the unknown, the ties to my father's past tightened, leading into uncharted territories where danger lurked at every turn. The weight of unknowing pulled at my heart. I had come to seek the truth, but now I stood on the precipice, teetering between loyalty and the buried truths that could unravel the life I had known. Linda's words echoed in my mind, a sinister reminder of the stakes involved. How far would I go to protect my father? How much chaos had I unwittingly unleashed into the world? Just as clarity began to crystallize through the haze of confusion, I felt a sharp sting of betrayal twist at my gut, a realization creeping in. The person who had just walked past us wasn't just a casual stranger in the night. He was one of them, a tattooed figure I had seen before, lurking within the shadows, his presence a warning I was only beginning to understand. Keep moving. Lucas pulled me along, but the weight of dread settled deeper in my chest. The taste of betrayal hung heavy on my tongue. As I glanced back one last time, the figure turned, eyes locking onto mine with the intensity of a storm. A chilling smile crossed his lips that sent tremors of fear cascading through me. I never expected to walk away from family loyalty, but losing everything had shifted the ground beneath me. A home full of warmth transformed into a night filled with shadows, danger looming just beyond the edges of reason. As the moment of reckoning unfurled before us, threatening to consume everything we held dear. With our backs pressed against the frigid brick of a narrow alley, I took a moment to steady my breath after the adrenaline-fueled escape. Lucas's hand remained tightly grasped around mine, a tether to something solid amidst the chaos. I couldn't shake the unease I felt. Every sense screamed that we were being watched, the shadows unwilling to release their hold on us. Where do we go now? I whispered, my voice shaky, laden with uncertainty. I didn't want to admit it, but I felt the fissures of panic starting to form beneath my skin. The world had twisted into something unrecognizable, and with every heartbeat, I feared we were a heartbeat closer to unraveling entirely. Somewhere safe, he replied, his voice low but determined. He looked around, eyes scanning the dimly lit street until he seemed to find a semblance of direction. We can't stay in the open too long. Let us head toward the bus station. It's usually busy, and we can blend in while we think about our next move. Nodding, we ran. The weight of my father's legacy felt heavier with every footfall, the shadows whispering snippets of betrayal that taunted my thoughts. Had my father truly been involved in something dangerous? It contradicted everything I believed about him, dismantling the pedestal upon which I had placed him throughout my life. But the family legacy, once a source of pride, now threatened to pull me under the waves, dragging me into the depths of despair alongside his hidden secrets. When we reached the bus station, the bustling crowd felt like a paradise compared to the tight alleyways we had just navigated. I drew in a shaky breath as I scanned the people waiting for their buses, their lives rushing past me like the streams of passing cars. Nearby, an older couple laughed over coffee, a group of friends shared stories, and children chased after one another playfully. It felt like a different world, one I yearned for desperately. But this slice of normalcy mingled with my sense of urgency. Our escape had only just begun. Let us sit for a bit. Lucas guided me to a bench a safe distance from the bus doors, and we sank into the slats, taut and worn. We can figure this out, we just need some time. His words lingered in the air, a fragile thread of hope. I leaned in close, the comforting warmth of his presence pushing against the gnawing doubt in my gut. I get it, but I feel so lost, I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. How did everything get so twisted? Family secrets can do that. It's not just your burden, you know, he said, his tone earnest. We'll get to the bottom of this together. As our eyes locked, I found an unexpected strength in his gaze. I knew I couldn't wade through this darkness alone. If Lucas believed we could dig deep enough to uncover the truth, then maybe, just maybe, I could muster the courage to press forward. But then the pounding of my heart echoed in the stillness, reminding me of the precarious edge upon which we stood. What if they find us? I breathed out, an onset of dread tightening around my throat like a vice. His expression darkened, tension etched across his features. We can't think like that. We need to keep moving, keep our heads down, and find answers while we still have time. Going deep, finding answers. Those words ignited something within me, a fire flickering in the back of my mind. You're right. But let us go one step further. I pulled out my phone, tracing my thumb over the screen. I need to call Louise. She might have more information about Aunt Clara, more than she told me before I ran from the coffee shop. Lucas nodded, however, concern etched in his own features. Be careful. We still don't know who's listening. The phone rang once, twice, then clicked through to voicemail. My stomach twisted as I left a message. Louise, it's me. Please call me back. I need to know what you found out about Clara. It's urgent. I hung up, an empty sigh escaping as I felt the weight of inevitability settle in again. And then it happened. A jolt. The world around us cracked open with chaos as the station's silent corners exploded. With voices, a sudden rush of officers bursting through the double-glass doors. Dressed in tactical gear, they swept their gaze across the thronging crowd, eyes scanning for anyone out of place, anyone who might know more than they let on. Lucas! I hissed, panic flooding my voice. They're here. We need to hide. He grabbed my hand with a grip like iron, tugging me back into the busy crowd as we ducked behind a row of benches. The tumult around us faded, my heart a chaotic canter racing against the impending dread. We can't let them see us. Just stay close, he whispered urgently. Every instinct urged me to run, but the deeper truth of being surrounded in a sea of strangers felt like a riptide pulling me closer to danger. Thick waves that threatened to consume the fragile strands of hope we clung to. As I peered through the crowd, dread curling around my stomach, I caught sight of a figure moving gracefully through the throng, the woman from before, effortlessly blending with the perpetual motion around her. Lucas, I breathed, my pulse quickening. It's her. We need to get out of here now before we get caught. He followed my gaze, his expression tightening. That's the woman who called you, I senti it? Yes, she knows something. She warned me. What if she's the one pulling all the strings? Then let us follow her, Lucas said with a fierce determination, his resolve sending a surge of hope through me. Now, I met his eyes. What if there isn't time to hesitate, he said firmly, putting a finger to his lips before making our way through the crowd toward her. I felt the threads of danger tightening as every inch felt like a test of bravery. Could we really risk our safety just to unravel an even deeper truth? As we maneuvered through the crowd, the woman caught sight of us. The corner of her mouth twisted into a sly smile, an unsettling knowing that reverberated through my chest. But then she turned, moving toward the exit, and instinct took over. Lucas! I whispered sharply. This is crazy. No. This is our chance. He returned, pulling me close as we followed her, adrenaline coursing through our veins. Every step felt magnified, a leap into uncertain waters where the stakes only grew higher. We slipped through the open doors, spilling out onto the street. I could feel the bustling city around us dimming as the chaos of the station faded into a dull murmur behind. Outside, the streetlights flickered, and she moved ahead, weaving through alleyways with ease. It was as if she felt the shadows at her back, a ghost melding seamlessly with her surroundings. As we caught up to her, I forced myself to steady my breathing, willing the fear that threatened to shatter my resolve away. Who are you? I called after her, my voice echoing against the brick walls, but with a sense of determination that pushed me. She paused just for a moment, eyes narrowing, but her response chilled my blood. A friend or an enemy, depending on how you see it. What do you want? Lucas interjected, stepping forward with a fierceness that surprised me. Your father is tangled in a web he can't escape. But you can prevent the impending disaster if you're willing to step into the darkness, she replied, her voice low yet compelling. I'll do whatever it takes, I said without hesitation, words spilling out of me like a promise. A loud thud echoed behind us, and I sensed pursuit in the air, the signs of urgency pulling us forward. Then come with me. She turned and bolted ahead, and without a second thought, Lucas and I followed her into the heart of the labyrinthine alleyways. The winds of destiny howled in eerie harmony through the night, and as I trod deeper into the depths of the unknown, I knew there was no turning back. All the truths remained tangled just beyond my grasp, the darkness beckoning, daring me to uncover secrets that could reshape everything I knew about my family, the fracturing between loyalty and uncovering the deep-rooted ramifications extending past the surface. But perhaps in the depths of the unknown, I would find what I truly needed, a way to heal the rifts my father's secrets had created. If there was even a way out of this relentless storm. And with every step, I felt the flicker of hope burn brighter amongst the shadows, igniting a need for strength I had never known before. A promise to the family I couldn't abandon. I just had to be brave enough to see it through. Once we were free from the streetlights and pressed deeper into the alleys, my heart hammered with anticipation. Somewhere out there the truth was waiting, and I would uncover it, no matter the cost. What I didn't realize was how much that cost would demand, how entangled the fates of those I loved had really become in a world where family loyalty teetered on the edge of ruin, and the choices we made would echo through generations long after we were gone. Little did I know, a final confrontation was waiting just beyond the shadows, the very crossroads of love and betrayal, one that could either stitch my family back together or tear us apart forever. My journey was nearing its climax, an inevitable collision of reality and the darkness I once feared. And as I stepped into that abyss, the world transformed before my eyes, uncertainty darting at every corner, urging me to fight for my family, for truth, revealing that sometimes walking through flames was the only way to find your way home. Yet as I plunged deeper into this unfamiliar path, I couldn't shake the feeling that in every ending lay a new beginning, waiting to be forged from the ashes of what had been. And perhaps this time I would emerge whole, having turned the tides of fate in my family's favor, and finally bind the pieces back together into something we could all accept. In that moment, I realized that family was not bound by blood alone but by the strength found in our choices, the courage to fight against the unseen, and sometimes, forgiveness was the only way to truly heal. And I would find a way to heal us all.